So it's been a while. I just wanted to say hi, share a little bit about what's going on, and not even really sure how to start because as I was thinking about what do I want to make a video about, because there's so much going on, and I keep saying I don't want to make talking head videos. So I'm just going to share a little bit about what I talked about in the title. And right now, this is what I am most afraid of. But first, we're going to take a deep breath, and I will see you on the other side.
Defy all the world and cheer, cheer the green mountaineer and cheer.
Lots of smoke in the air. So as I come to you this morning in the middle of New Mexico on my cow farm, you can see maybe it's hazy behind me. It's hazy in front of me because there's all these fires burning behind me. I'm facing east, west is to my back, and which I think is apropos. What's interesting is that it's not being talked about anywhere because the other fires are burning. And you know, some of my thoughts on all of this have just been you know, sparked by, I'm not watching a lot of videos, but just trying to kind of keep up generally with what's happening. And, you know, there was an incident here in Albuquerque, and what I'm finding is, you know, like you, is how much polarization is going on. And a couple things that are, so what's making me afraid is a couple things. One is, you know, I feel like we're inching closer and closer to that time where, like prison, if you don't choose your gang affiliation, you're not going to survive. I feel like we're moving into this period where it doesn't matter, there'll be no neutral. Just like during the Civil War, you know, families were divided to go blue or to go gray. We're being divided. And it isn't even a blue-red conversation. I think it's a logic, emotion conversation. And which brings me to the second thing. You know, I keep having this conversation in my head about everybody that I've listened to. They keep trying to combat what's happening as an emotional outburst. A temper tantrum, basically, is what we're witnessing, is with logic, reason, and facts. And, you know, if you know anything about childhood development, you know, 2-year-old is differentiation, and no, this is who I am not you, and testing of the boundaries, and throwing temper tantrums. And how do you contain a 2-year-old having a temper tantrum? Or how do you manage a 2-year-old having a temper tantrum? Well, you can't have an intellectual conversation. Now, honey, I want you to name your feelings. You don't do that. When a child is little and very emotional and they don't have the intellectual capacity to articulate their thoughts and ideas instead of just react with an emotional outburst, you have two things that you can do. You can try to contain them and keep them safe, and then usually you just have to let them burn their energy out, right? So you know, you put them in a safe place, you let them cry or scream or throw a fit. Now that becomes more complex when you're in the grocery store. It becomes more complex in a world that says if you do anything, you get arrested for child abuse. And it becomes even more complex when you don't have the skill set to manage that. And that's when child abuse and things like that happen. And I feel like that's what we're witnessing right now, is this huge temper tantrum from a bunch of little kids that never were taught how to manage their emotions in a functional way. And that's not a right or wrong issue, that's just human society. And the dangerous part of that is that you cannot have a conversation of logic, reason, and fact with high, strong emotion. Most men and women understand that. You know, if the woman represents the emotional and the male aspect represents the logic and reason, you just have to go to your separate corners so you both cool down and then try to have a conversation. And that's how marriages end, is when you cannot have that conversation. And so when I say what am I most afraid of, is witnessing all this, realizing that there isn't any good way to solve the problem. It isn't about solving the problem. It's about we're in a process of a lot of things bubbling up. And one of the things as a social worker and justice seeker that I was when I was younger is understanding there's no such thing as human justice, and that's what made me leave the justice system of the world and really try to understand the justice system of the divine, of the God, of universe, whatever. There's got to be a bigger. And once I understood what the divine justice system was, I can let go of a lot of what's happening and I can understand it. But understanding doesn't fix it. And that's what really scares me, is that understanding doesn't fix it. And at the same time, as I'm aging and getting bumped up against my own limitations. Right now it's about 6:45 in the morning, so I'm delayed from jumping into work. But every day I am pushing as hard and as fast as I can, and I quit when I either run out of the weather, the wind or the rain is too bad, it gets too hot, or I run out of energy. And that's another thing that scares me most, is my limited physical capacity to deal with just my personal situation, much less this global situation. And I think for a lot of us as we get older, that's just real. I can't fight. I can't stand my ground. I can't do a lot of things. I can barely keep it together to keep my own life going, to the point, where I'm not even able to participate in personal relationships right now because I'm barely holding on. All these things scare me. I'm contrasting it to when I first left in my trailer. I was so nervous I couldn't eat for 2 weeks. And that was a really intense fear. But the world was calm. There was this sense that even if I broke down and fell apart, there was something somewhere, somehow it would all get taken care of. But we're entering into this place where there is no calm, and there's no sanity, and there's no safety, and there's no normalcy. Communities are breaking down, families are breaking down, physically we're breaking down. This is probably one of the scariest periods of time I've ever witnessed, and I think what's making it worse is knowing that understanding isn't going to stop anything. And I think part of me always believed if I could understand it, then we could do something about it. And just like a 2-year-old, you cannot have a conversation about, honey, throwing your things isn't going to fix whatever it is that's upsetting you. Use your words. You just can't do that when people are highly charged. And if we do any containment right now, you're at risk of losing your life, your job, your family, your ability to be in the community as a person and not ostracized. It is a really scary period. So, this morning the sun isn't in my eyes. Normally I'm blind because there's so much smoke in the air. It's just scary. Like a fire that's burning and coming towards you. I feel like I'm working as fast as I can to be ready for what comes next, but I'm just so afraid I'm not going to be ready in time. And there's no support system out there in the way that there used to be. It's different if you're having a personal crisis but the rest of the world is okay, but when the whole world is in crisis, this is just something that's really scary. So I hope you guys are all doing well. I just wanted to check in. I really miss my little blue camera because I can't take good pictures as I walk around because these big cameras are too hard to carry with me and I don't want to break them. So with that, the wind's kicking up. I got a million things to do and only a few hours to do them. So deep breath and I will see you next time.